Okay, that does not mean we should go back to what ancient people were doing. Okay, we now know this does not work. People used to sacrifice humans to the rain gods across the globe and hoping that it would bring the rains. We now know that does not work. Okay, so we do not do those things just because people in the past did it.
Okay, so a few points on this. First of all, I noticed that the angry bird didn't mention animal sacrifices. Some cultures did indeed sacrifice humans to appease their gods, and we can all agree, both Muslims and Christians, that it was an evil practice. But others, such as the Israelites, sacrificed animals and even vegetables and grain to appease God. Failure to perform these sacrifices could result in punishment. The logic is the same as in the evil pagan cultures, including those who practiced human sacrifice, though obviously for different reasons. And of course, there are animal sacrifices in Islam too, but here the meat is distributed among family and friends and the poor. God does not need the blood or meat of an animal. It is our piety and charity that pleases him. But here's the most important point of this video. The Bible prophesies in Zechariah 14:16 through 19, that in the future, all the nations will come to Jerusalem and worship God and keep the Feast of Booths, also known as the Feast of Tabernacles. This feast involved making animal sacrifices to God for 8 days, as mentioned in Numbers 29. But notice the threat in Zechariah 14. All the nations would be required to keep the Feast of Booths, and the Egyptians are especially singled out. If they didn't worship God and make the sacrifices, God would withhold the rain and send plagues as punishment. Again, it's the same logic as in every other culture in antiquity. Make sacrifices to the deity, or it will get angry and punish you.
People used to sacrifice humans to the rain gods across the globe and hoping that it would bring the rains. We now know that does not work.
But there's another, even bigger issue here, and it reveals a major dilemma for Christianity. We will call this the Christian dilemma. There are two ways to interpret the prophecy in Zechariah 14. Either it is a prophecy about the future Messianic Age, in which temple sacrifices will be made by Jews and Gentiles, or it was a prophecy that was to be fulfilled before the coming of Jesus in the 1st century CE. This presents a dilemma for Christians because either scenario disproves Christianity. The first scenario contradicts the central doctrine of Christianity, which is that Jesus replaced the temple sacrifices forever and did away with the festivals of the so-called Old Covenant. Why then would these sacrifices and festivals be brought back in the Messianic Age, under threat of punishment for those who didn't perform them? The second scenario, that the prophecy was to be fulfilled before the coming of Jesus, cannot be true from a Christian perspective, because that would not be the Messianic Age. Moreover, it would be a false prophecy, since there has never been a time when Gentile nations adopted the religion of the Jews and celebrated their festivals and made sacrifices to God in Jerusalem. So this, my friends, is the Christian dilemma. The biblical promise of an idealized Messianic age where all nations will worship Yahweh by adopting the rituals and festivals of the Israelites actually refutes Christianity, no matter which scenario the Christians choose.
وَقُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَزَهَقَ الْبَاطِلُ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا